Analysis. So we want to talk about how we analyze somebody's hair and break down what kind of chemical service or color service can happen. Here at MIG, we call this the petals. So we're going to break down what the petals mean. So the first letter of petals is P, and this is what we refer to as porosity. So porosity is the hair's ability to absorb moisture. It is either highly porous, normal, or it is resistant. So how you can tell is highly porous hair tends to lean more on the damage side of things. I tend to talk more about a lot of my blondes will be more porous. It's going to soak up a lot of that color. It can go dark, damp, and it can sometimes repel any warmth that's coming through. Then you've got your normal hair. It tends to be shiny and it can kind of take most chemical services. And then we've also got resistant hair. Resistant hair can be tricky, and sometimes you won't know it's resistant until you've done a chemical service where it may not have taken. Grey hair types tend to sit closely in the resistance part of the category, as it can be really quite shiny and hard to penetrate. So that's porosity. The next one we're going to talk about is E, which is elasticity. So this is the hair's ability to stretch and bounce back to shape. You would want to grab a small piece of hair and stretch it. If the hair is immediately breaking off in your hand, it is not great. The elasticity is what we call is poor. However, if the hair is stretching and bouncing back to shape, that is good. And then you also have the other hair types that you can pull heaps and nothing really happens. So that's elasticity. When it comes to hair colouring, if hair is breaking off in your hands, it's best not to colour it and be going through more a treatment service rather than a chemical change service. Whereas hair that's quite strong, sometimes you might need to use a stronger product. Then the next one is T, which stands for texture. And that's each individual hair's texture. And we classify this as fine, medium, or coarse. And that refers to the diameter of the hair. So skinny hair types, think of fine hair types. Then you've got your normal to medium hair types, which is kind of just quite a traditional size. And then you've got your coarse hair types, which are quite large in diameter. Again, choosing your hair color products depends on this. Finer hair tends to appear darker and it can lighten a little bit better, whereas coarser hair types, you might need to use stronger products and solutions to get it to do what you want it to do. A, so that stands for amount, and this is how much hair we have on our head. So think of like a forest. So we have a dense forest. So that's so many trees packed into a small space. That's what we talk about when we're dealing with a dense head of hair. Then you have your normal head of hair, which is spaced out nice and evenly. You can't see any scalp through it. This is the most common type. And then you have what we call sparse. And this is where you can start to see the scalp through the hair. So you would think of like a forest that only has a couple of trees. Maybe it started to be cut down. And that is what we call a mount. And when bringing this back to hair color, it would be more about how much color do you need to mix? How much do you need to charge for your client? And sometimes think the denser the space, the darker it might look as well. And then we're going to talk about length. So hair length is, again, so you've got hair lengths where it's shorter hair lengths, medium hair lengths, and longer hair lengths. The longer the hair, the older the hair. The shorter the hair, the newer the hair. So again, it's like skin. The older the skin and the older the hair, the more it's been through. So it might have had some chemical services previously. It might be dry and damaged, and those things need to be analysed before you go through with a chemical service. And also it can relate back to colour with price. So if you've got lots of long hair, you might need to charge a little bit more for your service. And then the last one is scalp. And that is where you want to go through and you want to check the scalp. Checking the scalp in a number of different areas is really important. So always checking your front hairline. This is where you tend to find a lot more grey This can be where the hair is a little bit finer, and also this is where you would probably notice a lot of breakage or colour buildup. You will find clients, if they've ever coloured their hair at home, they tend to want to just focus on that area. That's because that's what they can see. Again, with girls who are using irons and curling tongs all the time, they will spend a lot of time with that front area. So always having a look at that. And then you want to have a look around the crown area, making sure that you don't have any funny growth patterns and that the skin's not broken and that it's sitting nicely through there. And then again, we just have a look around at the back, which is the nape. And again, if you were dealing with contagious scalp disorders, things like head lice, ringworm, and sometimes scabies, it tends to be warmer and darker down in that area, so they tend to hide down there. So when you're doing a scalp analysis, look at the front, the crown, and the nape. And that's how we go through and do our analysis using the MIG petals.